Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Cobert. I am one of the product managers here at Donor Perfect, responsible for donor experience. And it is a pleasure, my pleasure, to speak with you around digital payments in a digital world. I am really excited to be joined here by two wonderful panelists. And right, let's jump to our slides to introduce our panelists. From PayPal, who is one of our newest integration partners here at Donor Perfect, we have Robin DuPont. Robin is the global director of giving verticals here at PayPal. Robin, thanks so much for being with us. We're really happy to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. And we also have Ellie Parrish. Ellie is one of our beloved Donor Perfect clients, a longtime Donor Perfect client. We're going to be talking about our new, more modern donation forms that are integrated with PayPal. And Ellie was actually one of our very first initial adopters of the new forms product as well as PayPal. And so we're going to, pick on her a little bit here to talk about that experience a little bit. Ellie, thank you as well for being here. Also, really excited and honored to have you join us and talk a little bit about your experience with our clients who are on the line here.
Thanks, Josh.
My pleasure. All right, so let's jump in. Now you can hide the slides so that people aren't just looking at our faces. Oh, and by the way, I am Josh Cobert. I've spoken with many of you. Again, I am the product manager responsible for donor experience here at Donor Perfect. So Donor Perfect has recently released some brand new donation forms that we've talked a little bit about over the last few weeks. These forms were designed to have a fresher look and feel. And really one of our core goals is to make a form that is easier for you, our nonprofit organization clients, to build a form that's easier for your donors to complete. With these forms, we're really focused on improving some core online fundraising metrics, such as conversion rate, which is the number of donations divided by the number of page views. So we're trying to drive that number up, as well as obviously your average gift amount. And there's lots of tools to accomplish an increase in these kinds of metrics and other online success metrics. But one of the things we found, and we'll talk a bit about today in general, is we found that adding PayPal and Venmo as digital wallets to a donation form are really compelling ways to increase those metrics of conversion rate and average gift amount. There's a couple of things just in this little introduction here that I want to throw out for consideration around why we feel our new forms are valuable and why we feel this new partnership with PayPal is valuable. One of the great and really exciting things about PayPal is that it's a really well-known and recognizable brand, and donors recognize it and they trust it. And so a couple of stats for consideration. Morning Consult, which is a marketing consultation firm, actually performed an analysis in 2021, and they ranked PayPal as the number 2 most trusted brand globally. So that's a pretty cool feather in PayPal's cap. Additionally, to a study that PayPal had commissioned, we found that basically about a third of donors, when they open up a donation form, won't even consider donating if they don't see PayPal as an option. And so that's something really meaningful, especially in a digital world where more remote. You've heard that a lot in our sessions in the last couple of days. As we are in this more kind of remote/hybrid world, and online giving increases in prevalence, having really well-known, well-recognized, trusted giving options is really important in being able to drive up that conversion rate that I mentioned. One of the other things that we're really focusing on this form, and where PayPal lends a major hand in general, is reducing friction and creating an easier and shorter process for donors to complete that form. It's one of our major goals. And one of the real benefits of a service like PayPal and Venmo is your donors are not going to have to enter as many fields they would on a traditional donation form. And why is this beneficial? Well, a lot of our data over a long period of time indicates that every field that you're making a donor complete, your chances of them completing that rate and that conversion rate goes down by about 1 to 1.5%. And so one of the benefits of something like a PayPal and Venmo is your donors, when they authenticate themselves and sign in through PayPal, they're no longer going to have to enter all their contact fields. And they're also not going to have to go in and pull out their credit card and remember a credit card. And there's always that old adage that we hear of, I meant to donate, but my credit card was in the other room. And, I'm going to go get it, but then my kids distracted me. And what happens a lot of times in those instances, donors end up forgetting to donate. It's not that they don't want to donate to your organization, but, life gets in the way. And so relieving folks of that burden of knowing our credit card number and then again having to enter it, really does help to increase that conversion rate, and that's what we're going for. One of the other things you're going to see with our forms, and we're going to share Ellie's form here in a couple of minutes to show you what the new forms look like, is we made them in general much more compact. So in addition to filling out fields and having to fill out lots of fields and know your credit card and that being a detriment to conversion rate, having to do lots of scrolling, either horizontal scrolling or vertical scrolling, or on a phone with a really long form when you're pinching in and out to try and see the numbers and enter your fields. These are the types of behaviors that make donors bored. And so you'll see on Ellie's form, and we'll talk about, what we'll talk about here is the ability to kind of eradicate that behavior and make it really easy and have a nice tight flow to go through your form with and be able to have your donors be able to complete that form really easily. You're also going to see on Ellie's form, and she's going to talk a little bit about branding. Branding is a major focus of this new donation form. And when we talk about trust and recognizability, having that form really give the same look and feel of the organization's website and communications. So when your donors click the form and open it up and get ready to donate, they don't feel like they're somewhere else altogether. And so we've actually found that branded forms can raise about 6 times as much as kind of a plain unbranded form. And that's where you're going to see some of the branding that Ellie will talk about and how that kind of plays a role in the donor experience. And then for those of you who haven't used our forms before, one of the really great advantages of Donor Perfect forms from an online giving perspective is all of your donation history, whether it comes from a credit card or PayPal or Venmo or whatever the source is ultimately going to end up in Donor Perfect. And so we eliminate the need for manual data entry to key in your data. It's actually going to be right in Donor Perfect automatically. And that's something that is, regardless of the source, again, we think is really exciting. But I've gone on and on for a couple minutes here. The best part about this session is you don't really have to hear much from me. You're going to hear a lot from Ellie as a Donor Perfect client and Robin in terms of the experience that PayPal sees across thousands and thousands of merchants across the globe. So Ellie, we're going to start with you. We'll pick on you first as our first victim. Can you talk to our panel here a little bit about what drove you to use the new modern Donor Perfect forms, and kind of as an early adopter, what was compelling to you about our forms?
Sure. So when Josh reached out to me about beta testing the form, I was really excited. Like a lot of staff at small nonprofits, I wear lots and lots of hats. Some days I'm cleaning the shelter, some days I'm entering data into the database. So having some of the ease of the forms that Josh was talking about, so the data goes straight into the database. I don't have to hand enter it. It's a drag and drop form, so I don't have to learn HTML or spend a lot of time building the form. All made it easier on my end, which I love. And then on the donor end, there was a lot of, previously we had some issues with brand accessibility. So donors would call me and say, I'm not sure if I'm on the right form. It doesn't really look like you. We're very purple and teal. So getting that purple color right and that teal right, using the hex codes that I could just drag and drop around in the form was very crucial. I also, most of my background is in direct mail. And I was really excited about the opportunity to be able to take the imaging that we used in our direct mail and on our website and on our Facebook and social media and transfer it to the forms in a way that was really flawless, so that donors felt like the entire process, the whole going from getting the mail to donating was one process and was the same messaging. So I really jumped at the opportunity to use these forms.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ellie. Yeah, that ease of use is really what we're going for. And along those lines, we'll pick on you one more time. Can you talk a little bit about creating your first form? It's obviously a little bit of a difference from our old form. Was there anything specific that you were surprised by or that delighted you, or anything that was exciting? Can you give us a little feel for the walkthrough of what it was like kind of building that form with our new form builder?
Yeah. So I really loved the header image had dimensions right there that I could easily see, so I could build that out in Canva really easily. I'm not a graphic designer, so having that stuff very easily accessible to me is really important to me to make sure that I'm getting the look right. The drag and drop feature where everything was just on the left-hand side and I could pull stuff over. I didn't have to dig for it. Made my life a lot easier, especially at times of the year where we might have multiple forms running, so that I can just move everything over and everything is crisp and clean. Yeah, I think just having everything right there on the form builder, not having multiple tabs to move through, really helped my experience, make that experience easier for me.
That's awesome. And so you've got your form built. You built your first couple forms with our new form builder. Can you talk to us a little bit? It's been a few months since you guys launched with the new forms. Can you talk a little bit about Safe Places experience? Since you've added our forms, since you've added PayPal and Venmo, a little bit about what you're seeing from your donors and kind of what that experience has been like in the last few months.
It's been pretty cool. So 3 days after we implemented the PayPal, section of the donation form, we got a $10,000 gift from a new donor, which was totally shocked me. Great thing to wake up to. And when we called her and talked to her, she said it was because she had thought about writing a check. She had seen some things in the news that made her want to give to an agency like ours. She was just browsing and it was really easy for her. So she just did it. She just pushed PayPal and it was over. Like, it wasn't a long, drawn out donor experience. So that was really exciting and really cool. Yeah, that one was the icing on the cake, I think, or like very quick proof that adding things like PayPal to our form made our donors like the form more.
That's cool. And Ryan, we actually had a couple of slides in Ellie. We've looked at your experience and wanted to share with the audience. If we can show here a couple of stats from our classic form builder compared to the new form builder. And apologies, the blue screen there is the new form builder. But what we've seen since from looking at Ellie's organization, Safe Place, what we've seen that we thought was noteworthy that we wanted to share with the audience around, kind of the differences in our new form compared to the older form is we've actually seen almost a full point difference in that conversion rate. And when you think about it, really, a point may not seem like a huge difference, but basically what that's telling us is that for every 100 page views, you're securing another $275 donation. And so for many organizations that are seeing, thousands and thousands of page views over the course of a year, you're actually talking about an increase in thousands and thousands of dollars. And so that, almost full percent increase in conversion rate from the old form to the new form really, we think, does make a big difference. You also see there's also quite a difference in the average gift amount as well. And it may be easy to say, well, Ellie, you guys got a $10,000 gift. That's really, tipping the scales, right? And weighing the averages and kind of skewing the averages. Well, that's probably fair to a degree, but when we looked through the math and looked at Safe Place's average gift amounts, we found that even taking out that 10K donation, we still were looking at an average gift amount for Safe Place of around $245. And so, so what's that kind of one of our takeaways here? Being able to, from the experience we've seen with Safe Place and many other of our organizations, we're seeing increased metrics by simply being able to have PayPal and Venmo on the form. And Ryan, let's have a look here at the next slide here. I want to kind of show our audience here a quick little run through. You can kind of see here as the form kind of will hopefully scroll back and forth. There you go. There's a little scroll there. It's a nice, tight, compact form. You can see those yellow PayPal button, the blue Venmo button. If I'm a donor, we talked about, number of fields on the form and the elimination of scrolling, especially on a mobile device. This is, our evidence suggests a really nice, tight form to navigate. And we think kind of gives a feel for, why organizations like Safe Place have seen a better online donation performance. And so that's a little bit of what we wanted to share in terms of Safe Place's experience, as well as, that of many of our other merchants. Robin, I want to tag you and I appreciate kind of your patience here. We talked a little bit about conversion rate, but what are some of the prime benefits that you see around why nonprofits are accepting PayPal and Venmo? And you guys are obviously doing some great work, for our sector. Can you talk a little bit about some of what you're seeing as being advantageous to the inclusion of PayPal and Venmo?
Sure. So I think the first thing is, we really just try to equip charities for fundraising solutions. And, both PayPal and Venmo, as you indicated, are mobile first technology. They increase conversion and there's a trust factor around that as well. And I think one of the key factors with Venmo is the demographics, right? So the demographic of a Venmo user is about 18 to 29. And that's critically important to this space because the average donor in the US is now 64. And that number just keeps going up. And so really getting the Venmo users the ability to make a donation using the option that they want to will hopefully bring younger donors into the segment. So those are the really big things. And I think, donors are very confident. And what we see is about 76% of them feel more confident if PayPal is an option, if they've never donated to an organization. And, that's been really critical for new or smaller organizations. And they tend to give more. 37% say they give more if PayPal is an option. So hopefully that is what we're seeing. I know it's what we're seeing in your results, but those are some of the key numbers.
No, those are awesome stats. And thank you for sharing those, Robin. It's really, we have obviously a pretty decent amount of merchants, but we know that a brand like PayPal, obviously you're seeing even more donation activity than we are. And so being able to kind of understand the data as you guys see it, I think is really helpful for all of our nonprofits who are on this call here. So we're going to ask you for a couple other stats, Robin, but Ellie, turning back to you, one of the topics that we've talked a lot about, throughout our various sessions and that we generally talk about here at Donor Perfect is the topic of, monthly giving. Can you talk a little bit to our group here about, kind of how you guys view monthly giving, how the form allows you to complete monthly giving? I know you guys, I won't give any teasers. I'm familiar with your guys' monthly giving program, but I'll ask you to kind of talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so our monthly giving program is one of our older donation programs at Safe Place, and we have a lot of really dedicated, 20-year monthly givers, which is pretty awesome. But it was very labor intensive for me on the back end to track all that information and drag stuff around. It's very easy for donors to sign up to be a monthly giver, which I know from direct marketing and from just seeing it in Safe Places data is more likely. When it's easy, you're more likely to get people to sign up to be a monthly donor. It's right there on the form. You don't have to fill out anything extra. You don't have to call and talk on the phone to me. Donors really like it. We've had a surge in people signing up to be monthly donors, and then it's really easy for me to track them on the Donor Perfect database to make sure that donations are going through. I don't have to manually input anything. Love that.
That's excellent. Thanks for giving us a little bit of feel. Monthly giving is a piece of the pie that's really growing really quickly. We now see that, M&R Benchmarks released some data earlier this year that suggests that monthly giving is, between 22 to 25% of all online giving. As a point of reference, even just a couple of years ago, that was, 12 to 15%. So you can start to see, it's one of why I wanted to talk a little bit about your experience with monthly giving. You can start to see it's really starting to increase in prevalence, pretty substantially. So let's switch gears a little bit, and Ellie, we'll tag Robin back in as well. But, Ellie, let's talk a little bit about your donors, kind of expectations in the market. We talked a little bit about that, but talk a little more, if you can, about, conversations that you guys are having and kind of what your perspective on donor expectations in terms of online fundraising are today.
So one thing that I got a lot of feedback on previously and that donors expect is a shorter URL for the donation form and a URL that matches the branding of the agency you're looking at. So a URL that has the word Safe Place in it rather than numbers. So that implementation on the new forms was really important to a lot of my donors. And I got used to get a lot of calls that were just making sure donors felt untrustworthy or like they weren't on the right site, that they didn't trust what they were looking at. And now it's pretty nice and clear that they're at the right place. They're giving the money to the right place. Other things that donors expect to see are just like matching. It's quick, it's easy, and they get an immediate matching receipt in their inbox that from the beginning to the end, everything just looks the same. And that's an important part of the donation experience, and it makes our direct marketing work better. I spend a lot of time and effort making our direct marketing beautiful and wonderful, and I want it to be beautiful and wonderful the whole way through. So that's an important part to me that I think the donors feel, and it resonates.
That's excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of good tidbits in there, and I think what folks will find with our forms is, you really nailed a lot of those high points. In particular, kind of just the look and feel of the form. Also, the URL. It's an improvement that we've made. We've heard loud and clear from a lot of merchants in terms of just having that donor experience, not just the form itself, but that URL not be that long, string, and being able to have that be, more recognizable, more aligns with, in your case, the Safe Place name. And so we did, prioritize and thought it was important to, build that functionality in. And I think you also, again, that look and feel aspect, especially from a direct marketing place, when users, or when you're marketing to your donors and they see your form again, you expect, there really is an expectation in 2022 that their look and feel is going to be consistent. And we've worked hard to try and make that easy for our organizations to be recognizable for our donors. Robin, I want to turn to you. I mean, you guys obviously are seeing a lot of, donation activity as well. What are some things that PayPal see that kind of matter to donors online in 2022?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot. Ease is probably the biggest thing, right? Our donors talk about, because as a PayPal consumer, if you authenticate yourself on a device, whether it be your PC or your phone, you don't even have to log in to make a donation. And so I'm a consumer, I'm trusted on my device. That is something that we see positive feedback all the time from the donors. I think the donors are always looking for, and you tell the story about going to get your credit card, like, where are they getting these donation requests? Are they through Facebook feeds? Are they through other social media that they're actually seeing? And you might be on a train, not just sitting in your living room going to get your credit card, but you might be on a train and you'll say, oh, I'll do that when I get home, or I'll do that when I'm later. And so really donors have said to us, like, make it easy, make the least amount of steps. And they trust the brand, and so they will donate where they are. And so it, again, is just increasing conversion from that standpoint.
That's excellent. And Ellie, I know you get, or I'm sorry, Robin, I apologize. Obviously PayPal's been entrenched in the nonprofit sector for a while, and I know that your involvement and successes continue to increase. Can you just give our audience a feel for the kind of volume that PayPal processes, inclusive of all your tools online in a given year, just so we can kind of get a feel for the impressive volume you guys are looking at?
Yeah. So 2021, what can I say? The last 3 years have been unprecedented, right? With the pandemic and everything. But in 2021, we processed over $19 billion in donations for nonprofits. And just in the giving season, over $4 billion.
Wow.
And so it's a lot of volume, and it continues to increase steadily year over year. And I think it really goes to the work we do with partners like Donor Perfect, right? You're getting out in front of organizations that you have front end relationships with. And so we continue to build our volume working in conjunction with organizations like yourself and with the charities.
That's awesome. That was 19 billion with a B, just to make sure everybody heard properly. That is really that's a widely impressive stat. And thank you for sharing that with us. Couple questions left, and we want to leave some time, in this session for kind of some Q&A. Ellie, we're going to turn to you for the last, kind of couple questions. Can you give us a feel, first of all, you talked about marketing, any other best practices, anything in general that, you feel worthwhile to share with the audience that you hadn't mentioned initially, in terms of, either direct mail or branding, color scheme, anything that, sticks out as a high point that, you feel has really contributed to Safe Place's success thus far?
Yeah. So I think that URL, that branded URL, is kind of my highlight for best practices. Having a short one, something that's easy to share with our donors, and that clearly says where they're going, is an important best practice that I'm really excited that we're able to attain now. The ease of use for things like hex codes and drag and drop imaging, so that it's easy for me to change too as we change campaigns. Things don't feel outdated. I would say that was a direct marketing best practice. And also the data entry on the back end, and being able to very quickly and easily find what donations came through which form, helps me maintain a nice, neat database and be able to report out on the gifts we're giving in an easy way that doesn't take a lot of data pulls and messing around in Excel. I got a shelter to clean. I don't have time to do all that. So having some of that baked into the form, where I don't have to do any sneaky stuff to try to make it work, or anything that makes my brain work too hard. It works. It's there. It's good. I think all of those are really important, and also support where fundraising is moving forward.
No, that's awesome, and we appreciate that. And I'm glad that you mentioned some of the back end stuff too. We're talking a lot, obviously, about the front end and building an easy to convert form that's going to get lots of people to donate and get them to increase their average gift amount. We do find, and we've worked hard as well on the back end in terms of kind of our coding structure and the ability to apply codes to the within the form builder directly. Obviously that's a really important part of the equation. The online form is really the introduction to donors, or potentially the reintroduction to donors who have donated before. But being able to get that information, whether it's from a credit card, or whether it's from PayPal or Venmo, into the Donor Perfect CRM itself, and be able to segment data easily so you can understand, like in the case of the $10,000 donation, whether it is a first-time donor who, you're going to treat a little bit differently than perhaps a recurring donor, or obviously, again, donors who have donated a certain amount, there's all kinds of levels, and being able to get that information and understanding where donor donations came from is an important part of our online form story. And so I think that's a really good and thoughtful answer that we certainly appreciate. I'm sure our panelists appreciate as well. Robin, I want to turn to you for kind of a final question, and there are a couple questions here that we'll take in terms of Q&A. We have, as I said, an exciting new partnership here with PayPal that is inclusive of Venmo. I think one of the things that I'd like you to talk a little bit about is kind of the benefits that our nonprofits will get from becoming a PayPal approved charity if they haven't already. Some of the folks on this line obviously have already become PayPal approved charities, but there certainly are benefits of doing so. And rather than me talk about that, I'd love for you to be able to explain that to our audience here.
Sure. Well, charities, they don't have to become a confirmed charities, but there are benefits to that. And some of the benefits are give at checkout. And so give at checkout is PayPal's actual checkout is done like on a retail site will actually show the consumer the last organization that they donated to. And so funds are automatically being generated by PayPal consumers because they go through checkout. Let's say I'm buying something at Best Buy and I see an organization that I've donated to in the past, or maybe one that I've set as my favorite charity. I'm always going to give that dollar because it is just a way to kind of give back. So give at checkout is one big benefit. And we also have something called the Generosity Network. And so the Generosity Network, as a confirmed charity, someone could actually go onto our fundraising platform and create a campaign on behalf of your charity. And the charities get all of the information from the donors and information about the fundraisers in their account so they can actually see who is actually donating to them. And that's just a couple of the benefits of being a confirmed charity with PayPal.
Excellent. Thanks so much for giving our audience a little bit of a understanding of those benefits. They really are meaningful. And one of the things, and I'm actually going to drop a link into the general chat here right now that you'll see. I know we got a couple of questions, and I've gotten emails and questions of, how do I add PayPal and Venmo to my new beta donation form? I recognize a couple of names here. I know we have a couple of members from the beta itself, but I've added this form here. If you're interested in, getting access to our new donation forms that do have PayPal and Venmo, and I saw one of the questions is, is PayPal and Venmo in our classic form builder? And it's not. It's specifically for our new form building product. But I've just added this link to the chat. If you're interested in signing up for the new forms product, please fill out that link. With regards to becoming a PayPal approved charity, if you have an existing account, you can actually log in and link your account right to the form builder, and it'll link your PayPal account instantaneously so that you can collect donations through credit card as well as PayPal. One of the things too, to kind of further Robin's point, if you are not yet a PayPal approved charity, you can actually start that process right through the form builder, and PayPal, you will exit to PayPal's process, not Donor Perfect's, but you can actually go through the process of signing up through Donor Perfect's form builder. And so we provided an easy access point there for you to be able to jump in. And so if you're interested and you've been, if you like what you've heard from myself and Ali and Robin, we really would encourage you to jump in and complete that form. We'll get an account set up with you. This new form builder is included in every client's subscription with Donor Perfect. So questions we've gotten a lot in the past, or are there additional fees or things along those lines? I'm happy to say that there's not. And so this is certainly something that, we would encourage you to take advantage of and check out and see some of the benefits that myself and Ali and Robin have talked about, for yourselves, and be able to provide your donors with a better donation experience. So we're at the half-hour mark. We do have time for a little bit of Q&A, and so I see that there are some questions here in the chat. I'll try and get to a few of these here. So just going here too. So PayPal and Venmo, to a question of other other digital wallets. We're always evaluating, but right now the wallets that we're most excited by are PayPal and Venmo, and so those are the core digital wallets that are in our product right now. We're having a great experience with PayPal and Venmo, and so that's what the product has at this point in time. I see a question from Erica around the new forms. So I'll repeat again for folks who missed it the first time, but everybody on this call in the United States, I should qualify. Canada, we're coming for you too, Canada. But if you're a United States merchant, the United States nonprofit, you have access to this product right now. And so by clicking that form, we'll get you set up, and you'll be able to jump right in and hook up a PayPal account if you have one, or add a PayPal account and get access if you don't. As far as processing, so similar to how our old forms work, your donations will come through and be your funds will be inserted into your bank account with credit cards generally within 24 to 48 hours from credit cards. PayPal route, I know we generally say it's a little over 72 hours, could be somewhere around that range, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's generally in that range is what we've said in the past.
Yeah, it can definitely be sooner, but that would be the maximum amount of time.
Great. So you'll whether it's for a credit card or PayPal, to Carrie's question, you're generally going to have your funds within a couple of days. So a couple other questions I see here. So I'll repeat again. So we are at this point in time adding PayPal and Venmo to the new form builder only, and so we are kind of the classic form builder certainly will be around for a pretty long while. We don't have immediate plans to retire that product quite yet, but I will say that the additions we're making in terms of PayPal and Venmo and their availability is specific to the new forms. To another question, one of the things that I do envision we'll work on shortly is the ability to get recurring gift information from PayPal and Venmo into Donor Perfect. As a point of clarity, that's not there right now. It is one time only, but we do envision that that's something that we're going to be working on. I don't have an exact timeline for that as a potential for a follow-up question, but as we do, we will certainly communicate that with all of you. Couple other questions that I see coming in here. So in terms of pricing, for the new forms product in general, our rates have not changed. They remain at 2.89%. And with the PayPal integration, regardless of whether it's if you're approved charity through PayPal, the credit card the payment processing rates remain at 2.89%. There is a 49-cent per transaction fee for PayPal. That 2.89% you pay with SafeSave will remain consistent with PayPal as well. And then in terms of, I see here from a couple other questions, in terms of getting Venmo and PayPal on the beta form, and we can send out kind of like a quick video to the folks who have joined this session certainly. But in the form builder itself, there will be there's a payment section, and when you click on that, you'll see a nice easy button. We'll highlight that in our post communication follow-up for how to add PayPal to your form. And when you add PayPal, Venmo does come along for the ride, as we say. And so by linking a PayPal account, you get PayPal and Venmo access simultaneously. So I'm looking as one final sweep. It looks like those are the last questions that I see. And so I want to thank Robin DuPont from PayPal and Ellie Parrish from SafePlace. I think you've shared a lot of really exciting and valuable intel with our audience here today. And we encourage you to continue to ask us questions. Our information is also in the app handout that will be shared. And I'll say it one more time: if you're interested in getting access to this product, the best thing to do is to fill out that form link. So with that, I'll thank you one more time. I wish everybody a great day. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Rob.